Yeah, I mean, hey, look, you can see already that their strategy is working. Says they want to do it again in the second game, want to do it again in the third. After posting that many kills, I think it looks like a potential reality, but there are some teams that are left in the wake that we expected to do really well. I don't think there was a question that we thought Impact could do well. Right, this team already having posted the results, come in third place at Atlanta, and now they're showing up in Sweden as well. But some of the other teams fell off really early that did well at Atlanta.
Yeah, they did, and there was players that lost people early. Teams like Echo Fox did lose some players early. We saw WBG, though, actually perform really well, considering the fact that they did lose their in-game leader early to Nerve. We saw Method, who held on yesterday, and Oliver making some of those plays for them, try and come in and do a crashing play into Nerve, but not quite fully committing to it. So we saw a lot of people go for some plays that maybe they didn't fully 100% commit to. And the one thing that you can tell with Impact is that once a call's made, they are 100% committed to that is the call, and we are going to finish that. Method ended up getting pinched out because they didn't make that full push into Nerve. Nerve was playing very spread out. They could have crashed solo guys and just kind of worked their way down the line and taken out Nerve and been in a pretty decent spot. But we saw a lot of teams not fully commit to that. You sometimes have to, we call it the rush down play, which is people don't think it's considered a good thing. Sometimes that's the right play. Sometimes crashing into another team, and we saw Impact do it on CLG, sometimes that is the right strategy, it's the right play, and you need to be comfortable with making that call.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is if you go for that breach play, it could have worked there. We saw Method being on the receiving end of those breach plays quite a lot yesterday, but not having to enact it quite a lot. But if you're sitting at home saying, right now, where can I keep up with all this? Where can I actually see the stats? We want to remind you, you can jump over to www.h1z1.com/watch, and you will be given those nonstop stat updates. You won't miss a single kill, even if it is off screen. You'll see exactly who does manage to get it. And so make sure you check that out. And also, we want to tell you, you can go over to Twitter as well. There are going to be updates there constantly on the @H1Z1 account, whether it's about this tournament, tournaments to come, updates. Be sure to check that one out as well. Want to remind you to do that before we get into this second game, because the second one is going to be just as important as the first one. We have 3. All of them are going to be cumulative to figure out who is going to be the #1 team here in Sweden.
Yeah, Impact, obviously the one out in front and padding that stat by a ton. 19 kills, that's huge. I think that if they said they wanted to come out and make a statement, that's the way to do it. It's also a great way to set yourself up that if you win a game, somebody else wins a game, somebody else wins a game, as long as you play consistently. In the end, 19 kills is an extra 19,000 points on top of your team score. That's big. That's a big bump. This is, as you were saying before, you said it a few minutes ago, right when that match ended, this is probably the biggest gap we've seen in a team event since Atlanta's really the only other one we've had, but in Fight for the Crown. That's the biggest score difference, though, that we've seen. That's a huge gap. 19,000 extra points on top of your win is big.
Also, I mean, when you talk about the placement and how important the placement is going to be to the amount of prize money they get, that's obvious. But with the bounties, most likely each player from the team's already taken home $1,000.
Yeah, that's basically $1,000. It works out to about $1,000 each to each of them.
I mean, they can split it however they want. They can split it however they want. I mean, you give all $5,000 to one player.
Maybe Candyman's going home with $5,000.
Maybe, but either way, the team is going to be taking $5,000 home for that bounty. That bounty going to be a thing that's there again. So in theory, they could nab all that prize money and get all of the bounties. We already saw 2 bounties in solos going to the player who won first place. That was Oliver. So that ends up being $36,000 for him. We may see a repeat here when we do get to this team play. I'm very excited to get into the second game. I think the second game is always a little bit more exciting than the first one as well, because you already have that history of the first game. You already know where the standings are, so the narrative starts to unfold. You really start to see which teams are pulling ahead. Is Impact going to be able to do it again? Will they be able to back up the consistency that they were talking about?
Yeah, and Impact's actually saying that that is what they're looking for. And every time we do one of these events as well, we're getting farther and farther into those storylines, not just in the tournament today, but as events go on, you start to see those teams that emerge, and we talked a lot about them so far. So Impact is one of those teams we were expecting. CLG is one of those teams that we've talked about that's been consistent. Echo Fox. So as we go on, we're just going to get to see more and more how consistently these teams can show up and further prove that there is that controllable side to the chaos. These teams can perform consistently, and they're starting to figure it out.
Yeah, I think CLG is one of the big ones I'm going to have my eyes on. Obviously, having won one of these tournaments before, we know what they are capable of. But even in this, we talked about, okay, solos, maybe we didn't see as much from the players that we expected to. We know that players like Flamehopper can bang with the best of them and really get big results. But we didn't necessarily see it in solos. Inside of teams, we were saying CLG operates better as a unit than they do as individuals. But their finish overall, it was a little bit weak. And Flamehopper tries to stay alive, try to get his team to move up. The cheeky play doesn't work. But, I mean, before you even have that cheeky play, you need to be outmanned. You need to be down to that final player, that last line of defense. That's not a scenario you want to be in, especially one of the teams that has grabbed the title, one of the best.
Yeah, it's hard to do that when you also are down to that final player that early. We've seen Flamehopper be able to pull those cheeky plays out, but he's done it in the very, very late game. He's done it when it's 6 teams left, 5 teams left, and there's smoke nades everywhere and nobody really knows what's going on. Having to try and do that when you're still at 10 teams represented on the map, most likely not going to be able to ride it out quite that long. We've seen it ride out a few times, though, this weekend so far. Drop Kid obviously being able to pull that off for Rogue, and then obviously the Golden Boy coming through Oliver for Method, getting them up into this. So he's been able to pull that off, but it's rare. It doesn't happen that often when there's that many teams still left alive.
I mean, even Flamehopper, though, you have to give it to him how squirrely that really was. He was right on top of Impact.
He might be the squirreliest player in H1Z1.
Yeah,
He somehow,
you saw
I think
he had the vision there. You saw that he had the vision there and manages to navigate out of that situation when anyone could have turned around and just dropped 2 shots and him taken him out.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just comes from him doing his challenges that he used to do where everybody was hunting him and he would just have to run away all the time. He used to run some things on his stream. So I think that's just kind of made him really good at escaping. That's just what he does.
It's funny. It's like, the stream sniping thing that he used to do, right? Where he's just like, kind of come and find me. It definitely made him better at running away.
Yeah, if there's one thing, if he's not going to win a gunfight, he's definitely good at getting out of a gunfight and escaping. We've seen him do it time and time again. That's definitely the one thing that Flamehopper has 100% down. If you're looking for a way to get away, start watching the guy. He can teach you how to get out of dodge.
It's pretty important, though. We do know that it is important. There are going to be scenarios where you are that last man standing, and if you can pull that off, all of a sudden you can make your team some serious money. You can make yourself some serious money. So that is important, but hopefully for CLG, they don't find themselves relying on that this game.
Yeah, you never want to be relying on that. Relying on that is definitely the spot that you don't want to have to go to. That is a last line of defense style play. Sometimes you have to break it out a little earlier than you want to, but CLG definitely never wants to have that be the play. That's just always the one that you've got in your back pocket to try and get out of something. You don't want to be there, though. I can't stress that enough. You want to be able to win those fights. When you get pressed, though, it's more intimidating for them. So seeing them end up in that Impact making the press, it usually works out in the favor of the team pressing because it's so much pressure on the other team that they're not ready to deal with it. The other team's already discussed what's going to happen before they make that rush. Impact had already had that talked out and decided what way they were going. The whole time as they were getting in the car, they were discussing what was going to happen when they got there. So they have a game plan ready. The other team wasn't ready for them to press like that. So that's one of those things where you've kind of worked it out and have your system up and running, and Impact really has that dialed in. CLG wasn't able to react to it.
Yeah, another team that we didn't get to talk about too much was Nerve White. They controlled the tide of that game. You saw that early hunting rifle. They managed to get a second one as well. They're seeing so many teams. We talk about them pulling out shot callers from teams like Echo Fox. We talk about them pulling out shot callers from World's Best Gaming. They were just the high priority targets were taken out, and the influence that had in that game is undeniable. So Pulse was able to get a lot done with Nerve White.
Yeah, Nerve White was able to get some stuff done in the early game, but they weren't able to transition into that late game strong. So they ended up in a spot where they were spread out, and as you start to get crashed on and you're spread out that much, you're unable to react fast enough with your full team to hold off a push or hold off a pinch. So there's benefits to spreading out and being able to get those angles when you're trying to pin somebody in and get angles and take out those vehicles, maybe find the headshots with those hunting rifles. But it's really counterintuitive when you are getting pressed by another team.
You need to collapse
actively
at a certain
defend.
point.
At a certain point, being spread is no longer productive. You need to collapse and be able to hold down your spot and being able to work as a unit, and you can't do that when you're spread too far.
I mean, that's the big thing. You do need at a certain point to kind of group up, and we saw that weakness come when Method was collapsing on them as well. Method, if they came a little bit more aggressively, could have cut that team down, but Impact going to be the team on everyone's mind as these players plummet down with nothing to start this second game. If Impact can be consistent, they should be able to pull down first place overall. They already were able to get a resounding 19 kills in game number 1, but game number 2 has started, and we are in that looting phase. We have a bunch of new viewers pouring in right now who might not be as familiar with the H1Z1 Supersonic, so to fill them in, how exactly will this looting phase work in the team portion of the game?
Looting phase is going to be that slow start to the match. Everybody trying to figure out what they need, make sure that they spread out their loot evenly. Everybody's got everything that they need to go into that mid and late game. So we're going to go through looting. They're looking for cars, ammo, med kits, everything you need to stay alive. Then we're going to transition to that mid game once we find out what that safe zone circle is going to be, and we're going to see them start setting up. We'll see if maybe this is another one of those safe zones where it kind of crashes that meta and guys have to move off the center safe zones, or if it's one that goes back to where everybody's going to rush middle. We'll have to see when that safe zone comes out, but then after that, we're going to see teams start to get pressed closer and closer and closer together by that gas until we have that explosive ending that we just witnessed in the first one, where it's an all-out war.
Now, one of the big things that we can learn from how Impact played the game as well is the fact that when you get to that all-out brawl that happens at the end, you still need to find ways to pick and choose your fights. So how Impact did it was by using smoke, smoking off certain areas, but they're not necessarily diving in the smokes trying to avoid fights, but they're trying to take fights from other teams inside their line. Now, we actually saw a safe zone similar to this a little bit earlier in the tournament. It was quite a weird safe zone. How do you think this one will play out? Obviously, as we get more and more information, when we start to see more of these safe zones, start to see where the ring really is going to pool, we'll see a little bit more. But with the areas that are presented right now, what are you expecting to see?
I mean, the odds are based on this first safe zone that we end up somewhere either within Humperdinck Reserve or kind of into that open field area. There's a lot of it other than the Ranchito and down in the hills. I mean, that west side to northwest side of the safe zone has a lot of POIs within it, larger POIs that could cause some unfavorable safe zones that these guys may not want to play through. However, Humperdinck Reserve and the other side also leaves some open fields where we may get something similar to what we just witnessed. But we basically got a chance at any type of safe zone right now. We could be residential, we could be city finish, we could be mountainous with the trees, or we could be complete open field with a little bit of water in there. So there's a lot of opportunities here. Basically, any style of safe zone is available still.
Yeah, which is always an exciting thing, and that was exactly kind of what I wanted to hear come out of your mouth there. The gas going to be advancing here in about 2 minutes and 38 seconds. On board with Plus Ultra. Now, this was the team that we have seen playing what I like to call the dark meta. They've been trying to ride that gas over and over again. Last time it didn't work out well because of the safe zone. The main thing that happened there, a lot of teams were on the outside of the perimeter of the safe zone. No one wanted to be in the center because with that open field, pinches could come in nonstop. Players could collapse on you from other teams. All of a sudden, instead of being in a fight with one team, you're in a fight with 3 teams. So instead of going for that middle of the safe zone, players were going for the outside, and that put Plus Ultra strategy, which used to be the old meta, back to the place where it used to be. All of a sudden, they're in way more fights. The question is, with this safe zone, will they try to ride the gas again? Will that work for Plus Ultra? And now looking at CLG, this is a team that I think is going to be put to the test here. I think this is really where CLG needs to prove their mettle.
Yeah, CLG is definitely going to want to have a little bit better performance here. They need to be ready to fight off those breaching plays if somebody does go for it. So we'll see what happens with that. This safe zone, though, is open up to that normal meta. There's going to be some spots with some scattered POIs. There's going to be areas that have the camper setups and the different little campsites that are available. So I expect this to play a little bit more towards what we were seeing during the qualifiers, where we're going to see teams really kind of push center safe zone.
Yeah, I think center safe zone is the more likely finale to this game than with what we saw with this previous ring. Now, Myth going to be the team that we're taking a peek at. We can see that they have the police car. We didn't really mention it too much in that first game, but just how important are vehicles going to be in this early portion of the game and progressing in the game of team as well?
Early game, they're much more important. You need to be able to move 5 guys instead of 1 guy. You got to get everybody across to the safe zone, get your spot picked out. We're going to see SOA hop in, and it looks like they're going to get 2 of these body armors. We'll see if he ends up pulling off a hunting rifle. Doesn't look like it's there. But they're not quite as important in the late game as a car is in solos. Typically, being in a car late game and risking multiple players in one vehicle and a vehicle blowing up is not a great idea. So you're going to see them get used a little bit through the mid game. They try and keep their cars up as long as they can until they find that side of the safe zone where they want to press in from, where they feel comfortable playing the rest of the game from. So vehicles not too much in the very, very late game, but you're going to see a lot of use of them all the way up until about that 4th circle.
Yeah, and also, as you mentioned, you need to move around all of those players. You need to move them to a good area. You need to move them to the place that you want to hold. And also, in this portion of the game, you need to find enough loot for all of them. We say that the map is very wide open. You basically have 12 identities, 12 wheels on the map instead of the 60 that we normally have. But when you crash into that area and you grab all the loot the same as you would for 1 player, you need to hit enough POIs to loot up everybody on your team.
Yeah, having 60 players though on the map does open it up a little bit different than players are used to seeing in a traditional game where there's 150 players taking up the loot. 60 players allows you to kind of spread out a little bit. As long as you did your reconnaissance while you were in the air and made sure nobody was landing next to you, you can do a little bit of a wide spread to start matches. Typically, teams aren't going to land on top of each other. These guys are not immediately dive bombing the ground the way that you do in a solo match. So they can get enough information and know where other teams are. They can find an area that's going to be theirs and then loot up there for quite a while. And we can already see Farrell here from Nerve doing one of those plays that we talk about a lot where he is protecting that 2-hit. He wants to have that 2-hit at the end game, finds a helmet there at that long range. It looked like that was on a Radix, but he's protecting that 2-hit armor. There's a likely chance of you getting hit long range in the body, getting 2-tapped. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If you're going to get 2-tapped, you're going to get 2-tapped. Your body armor's not saving you, so there's no reason to risk it. You're typically not going to get laser beamed 5 times to the body, so
yeah,
you want to protect your resources there.
You can never protect the helmet, right? You need to have the helmet on at all times, but it is a war of attrition to a certain degree. You want to try to hold as many resources as possible so you can take off that 2-hit. You can actually take that 2-hit, you can throw it in the trunk, you can throw it on the ground, preserve it in that fight, because you're going to be in situations later in the game where you won't be able to preserve it the same way you can in these long-range engagements, these rifling engagements that we are going to have in these early portions of the game. Impact, currently, this was the team that we talked about having pulled down first place. They don't have the safe zone this time again.
No, they're rotating extremely late. They're still very far up in the northwest corner where they landed, so they're going to be rotating in. They're going to have to play a game plan very similar to the one that they played last round, but everybody's playing center safe zone. So the only other team that really we've seen play that outer safe zone is Plus Ultra, and I believe that they were actually down on one of the other sides of the safe zone. Actually, they are coming in from roughly about where Impact will have to be, so we might see them run into each other. We'll have to see what way Impact decides to go ahead and come into the safe zone.
We've already seen how good Impact really is at operating at what many would consider a huge disadvantage at this moment. I think a lot of teams are going to want to be closer to that center safe zone. Late rotation coming in from Impact, and when they actually do rotate, they're going to have to go for the same strategy that they went for last time, and that is going to be getting those smokes down, trying to get more lucrative fights, safer fights. That is physics.
And we have the rolling play happening again. Nightwalker going to have to go down and get the car after he gets bumped off the mountain there by Grimmy.
Yeah, you're trying to basically, what's happening here is you want these cars to be inside of these little nooks and crannies. You get them in there. Teams aren't going to be able to get those long-distance shots in. They're not going to be able to eat away at the vehicle. They're not going to be able to chew them out. Now, inside of all those nooks and crannies, you have your high-value cars. Jeep is going to be up at the top, up on the perch. Maybe a team's able to shoot it in. Dukes of Hazzard style, we are going to see Impact driving on through 2 cop cars, 2 Jeeps, and they are starting that rotation.
I love the movie camera angle there of whichever spectator that was driving that camera with that low angle. But yeah, we're going to have CLG holding the top here. The vehicle, the Jeep, in a little bit of a weird spot. Really, they're at the high point. I really don't know if anybody has an angle that can see that Jeep unless somebody comes up on that peak behind them. I don't think anybody's coming up that anytime soon, so they should be safe. Car's going to be all right. We are going to see Method start opening up some shots down into Spirit of Amiga's vehicles. So we're going to see a couple long-range shots here from SPKB as he just tries to eat away at some cars.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this team can do. SOA, as you mentioned, they're going to start receiving some shots here. Deacon already hit in that body armor. SPKB has been taking a lot of these long-range fights throughout the entire course of DreamHack. Going for it again here.
So we see Spirit of Amiga, though, take a hit to the 2-hit. We were talking about protecting your resources for the late game. Currently wearing that 2-hit, really not in a fight where he has anybody right up on him. There's really no necessity to wearing it currently, and he's going to end up taking a hit and wasting one shot on that. It's the same thing as wearing a makeshift now. Exactly. So he's given up a little bit of resources for really no reason.
And also the other resource that's getting eaten up in this long-range gunfight, and probably the primary reason that we started to see the shots even getting fired out by Method, that vehicle dropping to about the 50% mark. So that is going to be a lot taken away from this team SOA. One of the big things with SOA, how they did get here too, was that crazy play that we saw from Myth Storms. Let's say SOA was in this location. It was a house in the game that we saw yesterday.
They're inside on their roof.
Yeah, basically sat on their roof and protected them. So SOA, the same as I've said, CLG has a lot to prove. It's for very different reasons, but I think SOA still does need to prove
I'd still say they're the underdog of the finals right now.
For
so
sure.
They definitely have something to prove here in the finals. Great players, but, you know, there can be something said that Myth Guardian Angeled them into the finals. So it's definitely something to battle against.
It was the right play for Myth, too.
So
if you didn't actually watch it and you're like, wait, why would Myth help out another team, basically? It was in their best interest.
It was in their best interest.
They were able to lock it in.
Players was a bad idea. So
yeah, the main thing is they were able to hold a good location, and that is why they are here today. That's why they already they put up results. I mean, they were able to pull down that entire game. But SOA has a lot to prove. They are the underdog here. CLG, the other team that I want to see a lot from. LG, also one of those teams in the past, has performed at that top tier, that top echelon of play. We'll have to see if they can replicate that again on board with Chipsy inside of that police car. And we can see that those long-range shots were coming out, plus Ultra. Really? Still on that outer portion of the ring.
Solid understanding from Chipsy, though, of the camera system, and basically, rather than exposing himself, he knows that the car's at an angle where they can't shoot it, but if he jumps into the car, the car's camera can see over the top there, so you can see him hop out, take a couple shots when he sees somebody, try and poke it plus Ultra there a little bit, but immediately goes back into the car where they're not going to have an angle and he can still see them. So good use of camera angles by Chipsy there. That's one of those little things that you kind of pick up on, one of those little nuances that people don't typically see. You can see him just hop on the car and just sit on it so that he can immediately just look down and hit E and get right back into the vehicle.
Yes, so the big thing is he is doing just that. He's just peeking in and out, trying to take those shots, and he is not going to find purchase as of yet, but he's just so safe. They're basically for free.
Yeah, he's just taking free shots at them, and they can't see his vehicle, and he just gets to sit there and eat away at them, and nobody's really bothering him at the moment. We're going to see Vitality here taking a few shots. Can't quite see what they're shooting at, but they are throwing shots either at a vehicle or at another team currently.
Yeah, Vitality inside of this cabin right now. At this point, no one really looking to hold locations for the long term. It's going to be these next few rings that really determine where these teams want to go. Gas is spreading right now, so we still do have a little bit of time before we actually do figure all of that out. It's going to be World's Best Gaming now, moving inside of their little caravan.
Yeah, we got 60 players up still. Nobody's gone down yet. We saw a couple early game kills come out from Nerve with that hunting rifle last round at the hands of Pulse. But we're not seeing that happen quite yet, and you are going to see Impact start to rotate. And look at Impact. Impact has actually made the decision to play center safe zone this round. So they have rotated in somewhat late, but they have found themselves and etched out a little bit of a location of their own. So the team's actually playing that outside strategy, still plus Ultra. LG played it last round, and it looks like they're making a little bit of a late rotation, but they do have plus Ultra out on the outside edge of them.
Flowers actually going to use the smoke here. This is what we see a lot of the time when we see players on the drop, we haven't seen it too much yet. Flowers playing it very safe here. We'll have to see what he actually did pull out of that drop. Based off that drop play, I'm imagining that there were multiple 2 hits that he's trying to get inside the trunk of this car.
There's a minimum of 2 and 5, so there's at least 1 extra, and you're always going to have to rotate it into the car and grab another.
Yeah, and doing just that right now is going to be Flowers. He's got a little bit of time left on the smoke, so he can take his time. Now back inside the Jeep, going to rotate back on over to his team. And we saw them inside of their vehicles, most likely trying to get out of this POI soon, going to make sure they are inside of cover before those explosives do hit the ground. Gas is spreading, should hit the edges of this ring soon. Those explosions have fallen down as well, and that gives us a little bit of a peek onto Impact. We got to talk to Candy Van beforehand.
Unfortunate, that vehicle was actually tucked away. They had tried to hide it in there, and it looks like the bomb must have landed right there at the back bumper of the car and blew it up. So unfortunately, Impact going to lose their vehicle.
They should have more vehicles to work with, though. Need to see the rest of their camp, trying to see what they have left. We can see only 3 of the members are there as well. So we have Geesh and Shell Shock off in the distance just a little bit. They might have to rotate on over and actually pick up the guys who were left stranded due to those explosives. That could be a bit of a problem for Impact, because right now vehicles are still very important.
Vehicles are definitely important still, especially if we get a hard pull away from you on a safe zone. Having a car to be able to kind of blast into the safe zone is something that's very useful. We've seen it work well. It gives you more options on those what we're calling our breaching plays, or those aggressive push plays. Those are much more successful when you have a vehicle where you can get on top of the other team in a hurry, where they don't have time to react to you. If you're walking up, there's a lot better chance of them spotting you coming, and they have more time to communicate and figure out how they're going to counteract what you're pulling off.
Back on board with World's Best Gaming is they got the hunting rifle as well. We saw as they start to get those 2 hits, trying to get them all inside of the trunk. Right now, it is going to be Pulse inside of this fight, but it's Twix who ultimately gets that kill on Nightwalker. We talk about them having a lot to prove. Just like that, they're going to be first-blooded.
Yeah, so they're going to be the first one down. Nightwalker getting eliminated there on some nice shots from Twix, ended up ripping him out of that vehicle. That's a spot where you don't want to be. Again, we talk about numbers. Being able to make it into the late game with high numbers statistically massively increases your chance of taking down the match. Losing a player early puts you at a really rough disadvantage. So CLG, that team that we talked about that took down Atlanta, they need to step up here, see if they can maybe pull it together with the final 4. They need to get a little bit better placement this round than they had in the previous match to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, we looked last time, and they didn't have that great finish. If they don't have a great finish here, they pretty much put themselves in the position where if they want to be in the money, they need to pull down to first place going into the 3rd game. And after having 2 performances that don't sit well with you, that usually isn't the best time to try to achieve that goal. But as this ring starts to get tighter with this gas advancing, we are going to start to push much deeper into this game. We got about 1:30 until that does happen. Space going to start getting much tighter. You can see right now a pretty good bird's eye view of where most of the teams are situated at this point. But most of these fights haven't, I mean, there really haven't been that many fights. That just happened to be that cheeky play. Most of the time you're not going to be able to get someone down. Twix, though, with a really crispy gun, is able to find that kill on the CLG member. It should be a little while until it happens. After we collapse on this next ring, that's when we might start to get to the situation. That's when we're going to feel the tension. That's when the powder keg and the stage is going to be set. But when that trigger is pulled, that is to be seen.
Yeah, we probably got one more safe zone. This one's going to collapse. A lot of guys should be able to find a little bit of real estate for themselves in this next safe zone as the gas comes in. The safe zone after that, though, we are going to run out of space. There will not be enough space for everyone, and that is really where we're going to see the fights really start to crank up, and we start seeing people drop off with a quickness.
That is something that we see very commonly now. One of the interesting things is what's going on with Myth and CLG right now. They're in very close proximity to each other, pretty much invested in the same POI. So we've seen this happen. We talk about SOA and how that happened with Myth. It was a little bit more of a more hostile takeover, I would say. These teams haven't necessarily interacted yet, but the thing that is the same is if somebody goes in or if somebody comes out, all of a sudden these teams are just looking at each other straight in the eyes, and you know, if they see the whites, they may go ahead and fire off a shot. Vitality still looking like they are trying to pick up a few pieces of loot, not looking for a team at this particular moment. Vitality has that shot caller that has done them very well in the past. We'll have to see if Vago can do it for them again. But it is going to be Myth right now letting out some shots into Era.
Yeah, Era going to take a few shots over into the vehicle at the hands of Myth, but I don't expect to see anything really come of this yet other than just backing Era off of them and make sure Era doesn't push into them. But eating away at those vehicles is a great thing to be doing at the moment. So, yeah, Myth playing out the side. So Sign Encrypted holding off that side while the other guys hold down the parking lot behind them, which is basically keeping CLG inside. CLG doesn't really have an option to come out the front door. CLG would have to go out the back door, where we've already seen Nerve has caused an issue out there out back for them, eliminating Nightwalker. So we'll see how CLG can maybe work their way out. Again, I think that's one of the stories that we're looking for is can CLG kind of pull this together and be able to get a repeat.
Yeah, we're very safely inside the mid-game here as well. So when you start to talk about shooting at vehicles and things like that, this is when this really comes into play. Most players and teams have most of what they need to move forward in the game. So when we approach this part, it's mostly about taking things away from other teams. We saw that drop come down as well. That is going to thrust one team very far ahead, especially if they can get something like that hunting rifle. It is inside of it as well.
I think that might be a dead crate, though. This is a really
just too contested. It's too contested. I think this is one of those where going for it is the wrong move, but if you pull it off, it's somehow pull it off.
Yeah, Impact's the one that has the opportunity, but you got WBG coming up. That's going to be rough. SOA down in the trees. SOA and Era really don't have a shot on it, but Impact would be the one to go and get it if it's going to be one of these guys. And
I don't think it's a play that Impact would go for. I agree with you there.
They'd rather bait it and let people come for it and maybe get a couple kills themselves. I don't think they're going to go for it.
Yeah, I don't think that they would go for it either here. But, you know, it is one of those things where it's the wrong play, but if you pull it off, my goodness, will it pay dividends. But going for that uncalculated risk, I would say, is not worth it. LG's Adrian just super far away from his team. You can see Drazzle starting to move in behind him, but if Adrian gets caught out here, could be really dangerous.
Myth's going to go inside, so we're going to see Myth make the press into CLG. They're going to go inside, and we might end up seeing an indoor battle. This is something that we haven't really seen
instantly
at all this tournament.
Myth is just like,
they spotted somebody like, yeah, no, you know what, never mind. We don't want to do this, so we're just kidding. We're sorry. We're sorry. We'll go home.
Hey guys, nice to see you. So CLG going to be able to stay in there. One thing's with CLG, though, is they are down a man, but they won't necessarily know just by running in that it is CLG at this point. They don't know that they're down a man. You know, if you see unfriendly faces, you don't want to be taking that fight. That may even cause Myth to move further off. We have still the member from LG moving all over the place, most likely just trying to gather information. This is probably a scouting technique. With 20 seconds until the gas advances, though, I would like to see him rotate back relatively soon, try to get back to the safety of his team so they can all move as a unit towards the next safe zone.
Right now, this is a good play for him to be able to do the scouting right now. They're basically trying to find what their path in is going to be. He's relaying information back to Chipsy, who is that shot caller for them. Chipsy's trying to get his plan together about how they're going to come in. They have been playing from the outside. This has been the plan since the get-go on this particular match. They have been playing that outside strategy, so it looks like they have gone ahead and regrouped and decided what their direction in is going to be, and you can see the guys coming over to try and get, I believe, regrouped with Adrian. Yeah, Adrian popping up there on the screen out ahead of them. He's basically called out, hey guys, I got a spot, let's go, and you're going to see the full squad come rolling in to meet up with them, so we are going to see them go ahead and regroup.
Yeah, so it actually goes the opposite way, the team deciding to go to him. He found the path, he also found the line. Like you said, Chipsy goes, okay, let's do it, let's pull the cord, and they go ahead and run in. Now back on board with Nerve, who we haven't seen from in a little bit while. You can see Twix, the only player so far. He was the one to pick up first blood, only one with a kill. Got that first one. We'll have to see if Twix can stay frosty here, grab another one. Gas just about to kiss this ring here, and then we will see the next safe zone, and the next safe zone is going to be very unsafe.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd name, right? The safe zone, but it's really not safe at all, especially with how compact this is. So
you know,
look how small this is. I mean, the river really isn't a huge amount of water, but it's still got a bit of dead space. You have the ridge lines along the edges there, but having a little bit of that safe zone on each side of the water be within that safe zone makes neither side very safe, and this is a very compacted safe zone. So we're about to see a lot of teams have to make some aggressive pushes, and we're going to have to see some people try and hold off some of these rushes.
You could already start to hear the chatter of gunfire. That is going to be the omen of what is to come with this next one. We got about 2 minutes until the gas does advance. We see a member of SOA getting tagged up there slightly, getting actually chunked down to about 50% health. Era going to keeping that pressure alive, going to try to keep them pinned down.
Saw Zach in there. It looked like he might have been getting ready for a boxing match, just punching away on the inside of that wall, getting the fists ready. He's looking to brawl. We'll see what ends up coming of that. See if Eric can pull off a game here. They're definitely somebody to watch out for. That team actually performed pretty well at Atlanta. See if maybe they can get a repeat placing here in the money. And we can see LG now making another rotation. So LG trying to find their way into this unsafe safe zone.
LG's just been one of the most mobile teams that we've seen so far. We saw that scouting play come out just a few short seconds ago. Ultimately, that causes them to move to an area. Now, once again, they are going to try to move before that gas does advance. They need to find their little stake of land inside of that designated area. We can see that a few shots are going to be coming out here from Vitality as well. You know, we already saw from Impact how well they could handle a crashing play. Vitality was also a team that we saw who could do it yesterday. Now that they have made it to this final day, they are in the second out of 3 games for that $150,000. They've made it to the final. Question is, can they pull off a play like that again?
It's going to be, we're going to find out.
We definitely are, but I think they're a team that you want to be paying attention to because they can make these breaking plays. They can break setups. They've already done it to get here to these finals. I would not be surprised if we see them do it again. World's Best Gaming inside of this little campsite.
Another team that was able to do that as well. We saw them yesterday. Everybody doing it at the hands of, unfortunately, doing it to Method. We keep talking about that, but this has kind of been the storyline of the weekend, right? We've seen it in solos. We've seen it in teams. It's your ability to be able to make those aggressive plays and those high-intensity situations, go in and not lose your cool and be able to pull them off. So that's what this safe zone is spelling out currently, and it's most likely what we're going to see happen here very shortly as this gas releases. This is the safe zone where this is going to start taking off. There is not enough room for everyone. Not everybody's going to be able to make it through this one.
Man, Method actually getting clipped pretty hard there. We can see a few of their members getting some damage put into them. Gonna need to get those heals going, not losing too many resources, but more of just an indicator of how nice some of the shots are from the other end there. Now, we see a hunting rifle, too, before we actually jump off of that POV. CLG has moved out of the area they were inside in. It's just
into Impact again. We're about to see a possible repeat of Game 1.
And we could see those explosions coming out left and right, and that's a really good play into the smokes. Now it's going to be World's Best Gaming using those E-tips, much more common in teams than what we see in solos. CLG still moving about. Vision is going to be obscured. Impact knows that this is a good fight, though. They know that there's only one team there, and they just need to be selective. They need to take fights like that. Last game, they were able to take down 19 kills. That secured them $5,000, but they want to go for the king share of the $150,000. Vitality into a fight now with Nerve White. Nerve White, the only team that has taken a kill so far, and now also a fight coming in from World's Best Gaming. It looks like it has begun. The reckoning has started. 59 players remain, but that will not hold for long.
Impact rotated out of this, and now it's a fight between CLG and Plus Ultra somehow.
Plus Ultra on the losing end as well to start things off. Only 3 players left, retreating into that smoke, but when it dissipates, it looks like it could be all over for this squad. They're trying to stay alive. Now Ritz going to toss a grenade. That will find purchase in a player of Myth, taking him out of this game. All of the 12 teams are represented at the moment. Method looking to change that, putting shots into the smoke, straight into Myth. They already took one of their players. How many more will they find? Ritz going to peel off the back, get some shots into another team as well. Flowers with the hunting rifle into his hand has not found a kill yet, but may be able to do so soon. Ritz now has wrapped fully around, can see the players from SOA trying to get the shots in. Isn't going to find anything yet, but just like that, starts to chunk Radix.
Yeah, landing a couple good shots there, rips the body armor off, gets this hit to the body, puts a little bit of damage in, and we can see Impact, who did make that strategic decision to go ahead and back out and allowed CLG to take that position. So We'll see if that ends up working out for them. Crossover from WBG, that player they got eliminated very early last game, coming in big so far, taking out OB7. Pulse, now he is going to get eliminated. That is that shot caller for Nerve, going to go down at the hands of Sloth. We still got Myth and Method very close to each other here. A lot of smokes, a lot of gas, just throwable fest going on here as they try to eliminate each other. Neither of them able to get a lot of damage into the other. Oliver has taken a little bit. He should be able to go ahead and back up and get healed as long as Myth doesn't get hands on him. They are starting to press the issue, though. This fight is going to take off. Car explodes. Radar taking a lot of damage off of that explosion. Seeing more throwables on that left side come out of Noisy. Method all on top of each other. This is not where you want to be in a throwable battle. If somebody drops a nade, you have the potential to lose all 5 at the same time. They need to make a decision. So let's see if Method can maybe make the choice to go ahead and wrap that bottom side and come around on the other side of SOA. Pulse Ultra going to lose 2 players. Method going to lose 1. Radar going down. Blood Inferno with that double kill.
Method started in that fight so far ahead, and by the end of it, they are banged and bruised up. They have lost one of their players and also got chunked very hard by Myth. Both of these players, if they keep this fight going, it's going to be a 4v4. Looking at Error for the first time here, we haven't seen how much they could get done in the fight, but they are very close to the last remaining member of Plus Ultra. Proc's going to be cut down by World's Best Gaming. This is looking really bad for Echo Fox, now losing Prox as well, and you can see Crank now prone and alone. Carta and Twix going to go down. Now that is bad for Nerve White. It looks like they will just topple over in short order. 11 teams do remain at this point. Era inside of the smoke. Method is able to trade out a kill onto SOA after they did lose one of these members. They're starting to rotate around, finding different fights, but just like that, SOA, after they take one of their players, SOA going to be able to trade out, take down SPKB. Granny Bear gonna die to the toxic gas. CLG in bad shape here, and it looks like Echo Fox is just getting cut down to size as well. Now we're going to see a kill come in from LG. It's going to be on Calzy. This is looking bad for CLG. They were the reigning champions of the H1Z1 Elite Series, and now it looks like they are going to be dust.
Impact just narrowly escaping death for all of them. Geesh, last one left alive. He is going to have to hang out and try and get a little bit higher placement for these guys after they take down game 1. They're going to need to get a little bit higher placement to feel really comfortable going into game 3. Myth now getting picked off by Method. Oliver and Melander landing some kills. Yogi, last man left alive on Echo Fox, is going to go down. We are down to 8 teams remaining. WBG throwing some E-tips there underneath the bridge, not finding home. They're looking for that fight against Vitality as they make the press. Geesh right above them, right over the top of Vitality. We'll see if he decides to take the fight. He's going to start raining in some grenades. Could be an explosion kill there. It is going to land. Hoppybot going to go down to Geesh's grenade.
Yeah, Geesh with a really heads-up play there. He knows that he can start picking up kills. Now he's going to get another 2, just like you said. 7 teams remain. Geesh has already jumped up by 1 for his team. They currently have the most points before this game is said and done, and I wouldn't be surprised if Geesh can find some more kills. He does have this smoke as well, and he is just equalizing these teams. More explosives coming out. He's looking to find purchase on World's Best Gaming. He still has the cover for now. They're all under him, and they are taking fights left and right. We may see World's Best Gaming fall before Geesh does.
It's a good spot that Geesh has. Right now, there's no teams down the end of the bridge from him. He has the high ground, nobody really firing into him. However, in about 50 seconds here, it's going to be a different story as the gas starts to rotate and he's going to be forced off this point. He wants as many teams to die in the next 40 seconds as possible. Geesh needs to sit this one out, and we're going to see WBG here, though, on the one side, still with 5 up. He wants to see this fight go down between WBG and Vitality, and he's turned his attention towards WBG. He knows that he's already ahead, and he's doing it again. He already knows that he's chunked into Vitality. Vitality's down men. He's now trying to equalize that fight to let those 2 wipe each other out.
Yeah, he's basically trying to figure out which team is ahead and try to very quickly get those explosives that he still has left and push them behind, try to make it equal, try to make the gunfight just be a pure trade on both sides. I mean, if both of these teams eliminate each other, all of a sudden we see Impact jump up to 5th place after they pulled down 1st in the last game, and that is a massive change in points. Geesh still inside of the smoke. As you did mention, those few seconds there were really important for him. He's going to be able to trade out another grenade here, not going to find purchase purchase, but World's Best Gaming going to find a kill onto that member of Vitality. Just like that, Method going to pick up a kill as well onto SOA. SOA could fall at any moment. 2 players are going to be remaining. We could jump on board with Adrian just in time to see Flowers bring him down. Only 16 players going to be left, but still 7 teams. Jeesh's master plan has not come to fruition yet, but Oliver helping him out just a little bit, going to find a kill onto one of those members from World's Best Gaming. World's Best Gaming getting very close to Method as well, but they are down in this fight for sure. But just like that, Radic able to find a kill. Reptar able to find a kill as well, right onto Radic after he finds the kill.
Yeah, so now we're going to see Method starting to press. They know they're well ahead in this fight, and they're going to turn that corner. There's Reptar. Reptar going to go down. Crossover going to step up. He is also going to put down Oliver and Ritz, taking those 2 out. WBG eliminated from this round. Jeesh looks like he's ran out of smoke. This is that awkward moment. Get out of there. And he's going to be able to throw out to the other side. Safe zone going to release in another minute and 40 seconds. He has some time to just hang out, and he's going to continue to let these guys eliminate each other, moving up placements. Now in 5th place. Cutie Venom from Era going to go down. We see Era with one of the more stacked squads still left alive. With minimum of 3 players up, we got Method with 3, and we are going to see Oliver just trying to get this little bit of healing that he needs to get off done. Hurrah. Gonna get shot at from both sides. Most likely going down here. Jeesh gonna be the one to kill it. Might as well net himself another kill, laying down. Nobody can see him. Takes a player out. Vitality's out. There's nobody for him to communicate that to. Nobody has an idea where Jeesh is still.
Is the most important person on this map. Now he's going to have the gas at his back as well. Already he's jumped his team up to 4th place. He's trying to breach that top 3. The SOA inside of the smoke.
Poor
and
Hansen.
if they pop out, Hansen should just be able to be chopped down here. We're going to see those shots. Just like that, he is going to fall. Impact now has secured the top 3 after getting first, and it's Era versus Method. If they don't collapse on Jeesh, Method trying to do just that. We've seen Oliver do plays like this in the past, but they do not know Jeesh's location as of yet. If Era and Method get in this fight, we may see Jeesh, if he has any of these throwables left, once again, trying to equalize the fight. You know, we might see him throw them in.
Yeah, he's going to probably roll a couple heals, let Method start to push, and let the gas just touch him for a split second and come up behind them. So he wants to stay not as little visible as possible. He wants to wait till the last possible moment. There's still a chance that he can let these guys kind of trade out and maybe come in and make a big play. That would be huge to see if they can repeat it off of Jeesh just hanging out for a while.
We saw Oliver get in that position where all of a sudden he picks up the 2-piece. It looked like he was just going to be able to cut down the whole team. But as you can see, 6 players do remain. They are representing Era, Impact, and Method. Method is very far ahead in this one. You can see Jeesh, though, doing just that. Going to be building up that toxicity. Going to be rolling that hill. Going to be rolling in that gas. Era needs to try to get these kills onto Method. They want to equalize it. You can see them dipping in and out of the trees. Method going to get the first kill. It's on the hands of Oliver. We've seen him do these crazy plays before. Jeesh going to go into the car. He's right behind them now. They have no idea. And he's going to get some kill. Oh, man.
Second place, though.
Second place. But, oh, my goodness. Jeesh is a madman. But Method has been able to secure a win of their own. Last time, they needed Oliver to get them into these qualifications. Oliver already got that first place win for solos. Now Method primed with a win of their own.
Yeah, so Method being able to come in at having Oliver lead them on, get that win for them. So big step up, big ups to them. They've been doing it well. Method's been one of those stories for the weekend as they made it through qualifications. Newly picked up team by Method, so a little bit newer roster. Awesome plays from them, though, as they take down game number 2. Jeesh with those great plays as well, hanging out as long as he needed to. He had the right placement to be able to place that smoke. I thought he was going to come in. Had they traded out a couple more players, maybe Jeesh would have been in a little bit better position to take that down. But either way, a first and a second to start this off. Impact definitely out way ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, not to take the wind out of Method's sails after pulling down that second game, but Jeesh, kind of the MVP there. I think at the time, he was at 8th or 7th for Impact?
He was at least 8th, possibly 9th the time when they went down. But he had a great position to be able to smoke off. There's really nobody's going to play that open road in the middle. There's no cover. So at that end, there's nobody there. He has the railings, he has the smoke nades, and he has the height. And he was able to just kind of loot his teammates there and continue to rain nades out both sides forcing the issue and kind of breaking up teams and evening it out so that those two could just trade out.
And we will see that reflected in the standings now as well, and we actually see all of the points that have been rewarded to each of these teams. Impact very far ahead. They're going to have 25 total kills as well. That's going to be a little different. And, you know, last time they were able to guarantee 19, but Method shoots up. You don't even see Method's name after match 1 in that top 5. They're at that 7th place, but now they managed to break into 2nd, and they are still knocking on Impact's door. But the thing is this gap is insane for Impact. It has widened quite a bit. Jeesh's play there may have just ensured them first place. If they come out with a really big game as well, I mean, even if they come in with a top 3 finish, which is obviously very difficult to do, I can't imagine anyone overtaking them.
I can't really see anybody overtaking Impact unless they go out in the first couple teams there. I mean, they have a huge gap over some of the teams. They're one of the other teams somewhere around 5th is like 150,000 points. They're over double that. So they have a ton of points right now. It's going to be really hard to try and knock them off that throne. I think that they've
shown the consistency, and they've shown that the skill is definitely divided amongst all of their players. Jeesh coming up big for them, but we want to show a little bit of love to some of the other teams. They're still going to be trying to play for this money, and CLG and Plus Ultra are 2 of these teams with a lot to prove. CLG managed to win in Atlanta, Plus Ultra going to be the sole team representing Asia.
Yeah, Grimmy and Causey going to land themselves a couple kills there after they took that position from Impact. So Impact actually gave that positioning up. They had that spot. Impact decided to make the rotation off of it, give it up. I'm wondering if they maybe saw both of those teams coming and decided to kind of back out and not be the pinch guy in the middle there and back out, let those two collide. CLG end up taking out Plus Ultra, backing them off there. Impact able to rotate out and said, go ahead, have it, guys. Like, we're not looking to hang out for this party. Able to back out. So again, I think that that's still something, even though that play is really centered around CLG and Plus Ultra, it still shows that Impact made a decision to back out of something that was an unfavorable situation for them.
Well, you talk about Impact. We talk about Jeesh being the MVP. He was left alone after this play.
Yeah, he's gonna be the last one left up. You're gonna see Candy drop there. You're gonna see Shell Shock drop. It looks like he may have gone down to a Molotov, and then Jeesh is gonna be able to hold off in that position for an eternity, well, all the way up to 2nd place.
Yeah, basically what happens is he's enveloped in that smoke for quite some time, actually throws out another smoke as well, just nudged up a little bit further onto the bridge. Then from there, it's not like he's completely passive. It's not one of those plays that we've seen before. It's very different than even Oliver's play. It's different than Drop's play. He is very much involved, influencing the fights that are going on. He's throwing out those grenades. He's basically saying, okay, look, this team is up ahead by a little bit. I'm going to toss out a grenade on that side. Hopefully I hit someone. But he picks up something like 4 kills after he's the only one left on the map before he even gets into that final engagement as well. Sure enough, his team jumps all the way up to 2nd place. But we have some more plays that we need to pay attention to see how this entire game shook out.
Yeah, so we're going to see Jeesh here still hanging out. We see WBG now in that fight with Method, and this is right before we get into the chaos where a bunch of teams get eliminated, and this is one of the plays on the side of Method. So they're going to be on a 3-on-3. They're going to go ahead and press up. They're going to make the aggressive push, get a bunch of hits there, crossover. Looks like he may have thought there was somebody behind him underneath the bridge, when really it was just Jeesh up above raining things down and being a pain to everyone. So they end up getting these kills. Method cleans that up, ends up setting them up to take down the game. From that position, they were able to wait it out, let the other teams fight it, then make the press to get the win, have to turn their attention and find Jeesh at the end, but Jeesh ended up getting 2nd there. Method taking down a win that's got to feel really good.
Well, let's look at how that actually went down as well, how Method was able to ensure 1st place. They still did have Error on the map. We know that Jeesh was hanging out in the wings, but this fight for Error was definitely an uphill battle for them as well.
Yeah, so Era in that 2v3 situation. They're already down a player. The Method had enough room on their back to kind of press up off the gas. They weren't being touched by it. They're able to easily press into Era, who's having to be forced out of cover. Method already with cover. Jeesh going to go ahead and hop in the car, see if he can maybe get a couple plays here. Ends up getting taken out before he can eliminate Oliver. Method taking down game number 2.
Method is going to have that game number 2, and overall looks like they should have that 2nd place. I think we have to see if they can come out and be as consistent as Impact is. I mean, Impact undeniably just one of. The question I actually have now, this just popped into my head, is who actually probably got top kills in that second game. There is a bounty. It's going to be for
believe it
5,000.
was
So
Method.
it actually is
There
Method.
it is.
With
We ask and they
14
deliver.
kills.
Method,
14 kills for Method.
That's another big kill game. I mean, we were talking about it, Impact with 19, killing 1/3 of the field. You're at basically 1/4 of the field there. You're still eliminating a ton of players. You're taking out 3 full teams there. So they're not doing it without taking engagements. They're taking engagements and having to win fights to get there. Sometimes you see those teams where they win a game where maybe they kind of come in late in a rotation and they get to go in and clean up the last team and they don't have to take any engagements. We haven't really seen that yet this weekend. Almost every win in solos and teams has gone to the aggressive play or the team that has taken those fights and been able to secure themselves smart wins.
It's just been such a crazy weekend. We can talk about everything that happened, but the main thing is only one more game is standing between us and crowning all of our champions. We're going to let the players get ready, but this weekend just couldn't have happened without our sponsors. So a major thanks to all of our sponsors. Got to give it up to Asus Republic of Gamers, Astro, Corsair, and MetaThreads for making this all possible. But we're going to let the players get ready. When we return, we are going to have the last game from Sweden for DreamHack winner, and we will be crowning the champion of teams.